My name is Eddie C, and welcome to my Positive Podcast. I'll bring you positive stories of people from all walks of life, because everyone has a story to tell. Hi, everybody. This is Eddie C, and you're listening to MPP, my Positive Podcast. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to listen to the shows, those who have subscribed, the ones that keep coming back and telling other people also to subscribe and listen to the shows. They are not as often as they were in the beginning. I did it on a weekly basis, but now it's going to be a little bit more sporadic, so probably every other week there will be a show. But I promise you the interviews will be longer and more in depth, so you'll get to know more about my guest as well. I had a wonderful week. COVID is starting to lift up a little bit, at least here in Europe. And concerts have started again, so I'm able to go on tour with a couple of groups that I work with. I'm able to perform my new projects. So that's all positive energy that I like to share with you right now. I've also got 3 wonderful guests coming on. My first guest is a school teacher who has been to Asia to teach at an international school. I've got another guest, and we were actually neighbors growing up together back in Gary, Indiana. And she's actually busy writing a mystery novel and likes to travel through the States. And she says she's also going to try to come to Europe, but you'll hear more about that later. And my third guest is one of my childhood musician buddies. We actually played in one of the first bands together, and he's been quite an inspiration for a lot of young people over there, playing his guitar and worked with a lot of big names. And I'll tell you more about him later, and he'll tell you more about himself as well. So tune in and stay positive. My name is Eddie C, and you're listening to my Positive Podcast. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here's my first guest. Quite a young lady I've met some time ago. It's been a couple of years now that we've known each other, living, I think, half the time in Holland, the other half the time in Belgium. She's doing a lot with music together with a colleague of ours that has been on one of the earlier shows. And she's also a school teacher teaching at the international school here in Brussels. Please welcome my next guest, Miss Marieke Jansen. How you doing?
Hi, Eddie. Thank you for your invitation to your show.
Oh, well, I'm glad to have you on. We recently had Andy on one of the shows, who you're working with a lot, and he enjoyed it. And I said, well, I have to have you on one of my shows as well.
Thank you. Yes, I heard the interview with Andy. It was very interesting. Good work you're doing.
Well, thank you very much. Just trying to spread a little positivity out there to all the people out there that listen to the show. And can you tell my listeners some basic information about your background? You're originally from Holland, but actually traveled quite a bit. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about your whole background.
Yes, sure. Well, I was born in a small village just below Breda, which is in the south of the Netherlands. And I was lucky to have a lot of horses in my life. I did a lot of horse riding. I lived in the forest. So in that sense, it was all wonderful. I had a really good childhood. And actually, I didn't know what I wanted to become professionally. I always was interested in art and, horse riding and all those things. But also there was a passion for traveling. And then my parents said, so why don't you become a teacher? And I said, no, not a teacher. This is not what I want for my whole life, but I did my studies and I became a teacher.
Wow.
And this was, of course, quite interesting. I have a family background of teachers. So my father is a teacher, my grandfather is a teacher, my aunt. So it was
I can relate to that because my parents were both teachers as well.
Oh, so. See, and you're a musician, see. So that's how it started, my life as a teacher. But there was always something inside of me that said that I wanted to travel, to discover the world. And so after 10 years of teaching all grades, I organized all events and everything. I said, I need to leave. And I found a vacancy, which was in China. Mm-hmm. And for a girl that was born in a village, moving to China was a huge step. But I did. So I had the interview and I got the job and I left to China, and it was a wonderful experience.
Were you specialized in something in particular, or was it basic general education?
Well, if you are a teacher in the Netherlands, you're a primary teacher, you have to educate everything, actually. So, for example, in Germany, you have 2 subjects you're teaching more or less. And in the Netherlands, you teach language, math, music, art, sports, everything you can think of. So, yeah, you have a basic knowledge of everything, actually. Yeah, but it's in a primary school, so you're allowed to teach from 4 years old till 12 years old.
All right. And when you went to China, that was also the same age bracket that you were teaching, or?
No, not at all. It was very interesting. It was challenging for me because I started my first school day with a 2-year-old Chinese boy that didn't speak any Dutch. So my task in China was to set up a new school for Dutch-speaking children. But most of the times the children were from a bilingual family. So the mother was Chinese and the father was Dutch, or the father was Belgian and the mother was American, all these kind of nationalities. So it was never that the child was fluently in Dutch. There was always some English or another language involved in
it. But basically, the idea was for Dutch-speaking children.
Yes.
In fact.
Yes, for expats that were living there. They were going to the international schools there, and they wanted to keep up with their Dutch level of the language level. And that's how they came to me. So they came after school or during school times, just for a few hours, sometimes in the weekends. And as I said, my first day was a 2-year-old boy. He didn't speak any Dutch. He spoke only Chinese, and my Chinese was, well, let's say horrible.
Before you came over, did you already speak a little bit of Chinese or understand?
No, nothing at all. So my interview was, I think, in May or so, and I left in August. So I tried to learn some, but, moving to a new country, leaving your own country, saying farewell to everybody, you don't have time to do anything like that. So.
Did you take lessons yourself in Chinese, or were you listening to, let's say, tapes or something to pick up on the language? How did you pick up on the language, basically? Because it seems to be a very difficult language if I hear it.
It is indeed, but you have a musical ear, so you should pick on it very easily, because there are 4 tones that you can speak your voice.
Okay. Yeah. And can you explain a little bit about that, how that works?
First to your first question, I had some private classes because I said if I have to go to a school, my job was so full it took a lot of time. So I said, this is not possible for me to go to a school and to get classes. So I got a friend who is Chinese, and who told me, well, as much as he could. And he started as well with the characters, but the characters is horrible. I tried it for a few weeks, and then I went on a holiday for a few weeks, and I forgot it all. I mean, you have to practice it daily. So I can still write the characters 1 till 10, and that's it. Don't ask me to write anything else.
Okay, but how was that with, let's say, when you were over there, you needed to read to get around? Whether everything was translated in English or another language or whatever?
It was a super big challenge, but it's also a way to get to know yourself. For example, when you go to here in Belgium, for example, and you go to a supermarket or a shop or something, you see, for example, an exit sign.
Right.
You can read the word exit. But if you go to China, there is no word as exit. It's written in characters. So everything you see is written in characters, and so you can't relate to anything, which gave some problems. for example, going to the supermarket. How do you find eggs if you don't know where the eggs are?
Right.
So you have to be very inventive. And that's how I came up with, for example, a kind of theater thing. So you have to show what a chicken is like and what.
You were doing a lot of speaking with your hands and feet, in fact.
Exactly. Or drawing, when you want to have coconut milk and then you don't know what coconut milk is. I mean, it's they drink it a lot in China to reduce the spicy taste of the spicy foods they have. So how do you order that? Yeah, right. It's very interesting, and you get to know yourself and you get very creative and inventive. Yes.
Wow. So, okay, it's just quite very interesting that so they actually have like signs instead of really letters for their alphabet. How is it when you're speaking then? Because you said the four tones. You mentioned something about four tones. So.
Yes, so don't ask me too much about the Chinese language. I forgot a lot. But they also have a different written system, which is called pinyin. And it's actually written in our alphabet. Mm-hmm. So you can read in our alphabetic system how you have to pronounce the word. And that's how we learned. At least that's how I learned, because otherwise with all the characters only, I wouldn't have remembered at all.
Okay.
Yes. So.
Oh, wow. That's quite interesting. All of the different characters. If you need to know those characters in order to get around. That's quite amazing.
Yeah, I was also in a time that I didn't use, the iPhones, or I have to say smartphones, with the Google Translate. Because nowadays, if you just put your camera from Google Translate over a text, you can translate it already. And that was impossible at that moment. So, yeah.
Right.
Very, very interesting time.
Very interesting. And, of course, a completely different culture that you were into. So, wow, quite amazing. I know outside of, your teaching, you have your other big passions. One of them being music, and music being the big passion, liking to sing and being involved in music. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, that was also an interesting story related to China, actually, because after coming back from China, I was looking for a new adventure. Mm-hmm. I wanted to stay international, so I applied for a job at the European School. And that's where I told the director, let's just say, okay, if you have something about China, a special project,
sure,
please let me know, because then I'm very interested to organize these things. And that's how I got involved with the Chinese mission and all the Chinese projects here in Brussels. And I went to China every year with 35 students. And one of those times we had a coordinator here in Brussels who was also involved in music. She's a violinist. She's quite a good violinist, yes. And she became a friend. And I asked her if we could organize something kind of music, because I then at that moment was already involved in music with Andy. And I said, well, maybe we can organize some music in China. And she said, yes, what do you have? And Andy's playing a lot of piano. Andy is my business partner in music. And I said, maybe we can organize something like a piano bar there. And she said, yes, that would be great. It would be lovely. And Andy said then, yes, and Marieke is going to sing.
Okay.
And I was like, what? I can't sing at all. I never sang in the shower, but or just in the house. And he said, yes, Marieke is going to sing. And she said, oh, you sing? Oh, okay, I'll come and listen to you one day. And she came and she liked it. And I had only 6 weeks to prepare like 20 songs. Then I went to China with all those students. They went to host families in the evenings, and Marieke was on the stage in the evening.
Okay. Quite a story. Quite a story.
Yeah.
You have a very nice voice. I have to admit, you sound very nice. And I've seen your voice grow in the last couple of years since you've been busy with it. And so
Thank
I was
you.
talking with
Yes.
Andy about it.
Yeah.
And so, and now you're doing a lot of the music that you all are doing together, are, say, classically orientated music to a certain degree, with a flair of pop added to it, and of course some ethnic rhythms. Can you tell us some more about that?
Yes. Yes. Well, it started actually with meeting Andy at the European School. Andy, my
How did you met? He was teaching there as well,
teaching
right?
there, and yes, both Dutch. It was a kind of connection immediately, and we became friends. And he told me about his passion for music. I went to see him and listened to his piano compositions, actually, and I immediately thought, wow, this guy is wonderful. He's playing so beautifully. It really touched my heart. So then from one came another, and he asked me if I would want to join him to start up a business in music, to organize events. And I immediately said, yes, I would love to. So that's how we started and how we got connected. And he started to compose more and more. And nowadays we're doing several kind of things, actually. So we're organizing events with all kind of musicians, even with you as a very good percussionist, of course. We record new songs from the compositions he made, but we also do, for example, now Andy and me as a duo, and there we combine several kinds of songs. So, for example, now we have a very nice composition, well, no, it's an arrangement, I have to say, from the songs Sway and Bohemian Rhapsody, and it starts with classical introduction, and then it becomes more pop and jazzy. It's all mixed in one song. So that's how we combine it. Yeah. And it's really interesting. People love to hear this because they recognize both songs, and there's still a twist, a different twist to it.
Well, I know there was we did a project, I think it was last year or just before, was it just before COVID or in the period that we were able to travel?
Yeah, last October.
And it was in the period that we were still able to move around before they gave us a second lockdown. I remember that was a unique session because it was with a whole string section and an acoustic bass, and it was a lot of fun. And those were original compositions as well, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Those were composed by Andy. Yeah.
Very nice music. Very nice music. So I wanted to ask you another question: is that being a teacher and also now with your music, where's your heart lying now at the moment? Because
it's very hard. Yes. Well, I have to say, I love teaching, but I also love music. And at the moment, it gave me a lot of security, the teaching. Well, you know yourself, during COVID times and the cultural section, it's very hard to get a salary anywhere.
It was more or less dead, actually,
Exactly. So, and the teaching was not at all that. I mean, we had to teach online. So this gave me a lot of security.
Right.
Just financially. And that was very interesting. And I could see a lot of colleague musicians suffering because of COVID. They couldn't perform, they couldn't do anything, they couldn't teach or whatsoever because they were not allowed to. So I think the love for teaching is always there, but I also love the music, and I think I can combine it at the moment perfectly. At the moment, I hope it's still happening. I'm not sure, of course, but if we break through with the music, then of course I have to make a decision. But for now, it's still okay to have both jobs, yes. And I can also put a lot of music in my teachings, which is also very nice. Yeah.
Our theme for this particular show, let's say, is awareness. My final question to you for this episode is, what does awareness mean for you?
It's a very broad concept, I think. And you told me about awareness, that you were going to take this as a concept for your show. And so I've been thinking about this. And as a teacher, I can say awareness starts only at a certain age. So before 7 years old, the child is very egocentric. And afterwards, they become more and more aware of the world around them. And I think for me as a musician or a person now, awareness is also at different levels. So, for example, I am aware of a lot of things because of my senses. I can feel things, I can taste things, I can see and hear things, and which makes me aware of so many things. But I think the true awareness comes when you go to a deeper level, which is within you. What does it do within you? How do you really feel your true nature? And that's for me, that's really, let's say, consciousness, being very conscious about a lot of things. And I did a lot with this lately. So I do a lot of meditation, for example. And also in my singing, you can also feel that there's a lot of, meditation as well. You can come to a certain level of consciousness, of awareness during your singings that you become in a meditative state. So,
it's a lot of it has to do with feeling the number, huh? and bringing it over, because you're trying to project an emotion to the people that are listening to it, as well as feel what you're singing yourself. So that's very important.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Yes, and a lot is actually energy based. You have to feel the energy around you. Yeah, you as a musician, you know how it is. Yeah.
The more positive the energy is, the better it's going to be, not only for you, but for those who are listening and sharing it with you.
Yes, yes.
Well, I would love to thank you for coming on the show and sharing your story. And next time you go to China, you'll be able to speak the language probably a little bit better. Although nowadays, like you say, there's the smartphone that does everything,
Yes.
Well, just before you go, what would you like to tell young people today who are growing up in this, let's say, fast society and individualistic society we've sort of like created about awareness? Because I think that's quite important.
Oh, yes. I see, unfortunately, a lot of less awareness from the younger children. So I would say, put the iPhone away. Be more conscious of the world around you. Look, hear, listen, taste with every sense you have. And also be very positive. Speak a lot of positivity, positive words to yourself. And follow your heart. That's the main thing.
All right. Well, on those words, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on the show.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye. This is My Positive Podcast with Eddie C. My next guest is a dear friend of mine. We actually grew up together in the same town, and we've known each other for a long, long time. And she's now living in the state of Washington, but she's been traveling back and forth through the states periodically. She's done several different types of jobs, and she'll tell you more about that in a minute. Please welcome Miss Denise Crockett. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. Great to be here talking to you.
Yeah, it's been ages since we last spoke with each other. It has been quite a long time.
Yes. It's been very, very long time. Very long time. But I always managed to peep in on you through the internet on how you were doing, and always constantly praying for you.
Oh, well, that's very sweet. I appreciate that very much. And it's always good to touch base with you. Always good to touch base. Well, I'm going to get right into the questions. Can you tell my audience a little bit about your background? I know you're part of the whole GI family. That's the Gary, Indiana family. But maybe you can tell my listeners a little bit more about your background.
Okay. Well, first of all, I was born in Chicago, and I was raised in Gary. My father married a young woman from Chicago. They were teenagers, and which produced me.
All right.
And so I ended up being a product of a broken home. at a very early age. I guess maybe between the ages of 2 and 3. And my father went to the service, left me with my grandparents, which they raised me until I was like about 8 years old. And then he returned from the service in Germany and ended up marrying someone else who adopted me as her own and raised me on 13th and Clinton in Gary.
Already.
That's when my life really started. That's when I knew that I was a child of society, put it that way. And it was cool. It was cool. I love Gary, and I love the area that we lived in on the west side. I ventured out and I had relatives on the east side, south, all over everywhere. And but I'm an only child. You know how that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know how that can be. Well, I have my younger brother and sister, of course, but I've been since 1975. I, came over to Europe, and so I've been on my own basically since then, and touching base from time to time with family and with friends, and that's the nice thing about internet. We're able to touch base with each other like we're doing now. And
right, because I was feeling lonely at a point, and disassociated in a sense. Mm-hmm. I guess not just because I had moved so far away and being an only child, but I have lots of cousins and family in Gary and an extended family, in other states. But I just started feeling really lonely and depressed. Mm-hmm. But I think it was because the events for the last couple of years, would state that our country.
Yeah. The state of the country, the thing with Corona and everything, it's been it's been a mess all over the world, in fact. It's good to be able to touch base with friends and, grasp a little positivity, that rubs off on each other at a certain point. So you graduated from high school in Gary, and then what happened to Denise after that?
Oh, man. I don't even know if you have enough time on this podcast.
We have a lot of time. We have a lot of time.
We probably should have talked a little bit earlier, like yesterday. After school, I started working. I placed in Valparaiso, building auto parts.
Oh, so you were getting into auto parts?
Yeah.
Wow.
My very first job was at the auto parts where they manufactured cable for cars for General Motors, Ford, and I guess a few other out of the country cars. Right.
Okay, so you were working like in the manufacturing part of the whole thing. Oh, right. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it was sort of like an assembly line thing. But they didn't have machines doing this. We did it by hand. Now, mind you, this was like we came out of school in 1974, so this is 1975. Right. And I'm on a assembly line putting cables together to run people's cars.
Okay.
By hand, mind you, by hand.
Oh, wow. That's quite amazing. Okay, so you did the car assembly thing, and then, because you've done several jobs, you were telling me, in our pre-talk.
I've tried so many different things, Eddie, that it's unbelievable. And I look back at my life now and I says, I've experienced all of these things. Mm-hmm. I've done sales, I've done community service work, I have a license to sell insurance for the state of Illinois and Indiana. I went to cosmetology school. I went to massage therapy school at the age of 50. I was the oldest person in my class, and why did I do that? It was like, why am I doing this?
All right. Well, how did that come about?
I wanted to do something different and open up my own business.
Yeah. How did you decide to do that all of a sudden at 50?
I wanted to do that, but the thing is, when I got involved in doing that, I found another part of me that opened myself up to other people and made me feel more compassionate, because I started to work with clients that were ill, terminally ill. And I had people coming in to watching me work different organizations and things that wanted me to work with them because they felt that I would be perfect fit for them as far as my compassion and self-caring. And actually, they wanted me to work with AIDS patients because I feel that I was kind of gearing myself up to work with terminally ill people and people in nursing homes, because a lot of times people don't understand that people who are ill like that and are sick, they need to be touched. And sometimes, they need to be touched to know that someone cares. Someone else has a feeling and just going to care for them like they would care. They would want to be cared for. They would want to care for someone else.
Absolutely.
And sometimes family members can't do it, not because of the job that they hold, but they don't have time. Sometimes they just can't. Right? The emotional part of it, right? They don't know how. They can't. They can't do it because it's hard. It's hard, and and someone from the outside who can come in and see that and spark that. It makes a big difference.
I guess maybe the emotional connection that they have directly.
Yeah. Yeah, I was quiet. I was probably too scared.
That you were doing. It was wonderful and you've always been a sort of laid back type of person.
I think at the time I was traveling back and forth, trying to find my own, trying to find where I wanted to be. And actually every place that I've lived, I wanted to be there.
Well, listen, I know you've been doing a lot of traveling within the States, and you were telling me about that. You went from Gary to Washington, and then back to Washington, and back to Gary, and then some other places. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I love traveling. I love meeting people. I am a people person. I have no problems meeting anyone and engaging in conversation. Yeah, and I applaud you for that. Because just like I was telling you, I was, oh my God, you're taking me out of my comfort zone, And it's ironic that you would call me today because I was just sitting thinking about getting back on the internet, getting back on Facebook. My daughter has been pushing me to do this. Why don't you do one of those online dating things? I'm like, oh God, why? I don't know. I'll ease my way back into Facebook and then here you come calling. I'm like, so I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. And so this is it. You just did it. I don't know how I'm doing, but you did it.
You're doing great. And like I said, this is a show where everybody has a story to tell.
Everybody has a story to tell. I have been through so many different things in my life that I think that makes me stronger now.
That's fantastic.
It makes me stronger as a person. It makes me stronger spiritually, I'm more aware of my surroundings. I always thought I was, but I see things differently now. I can't say that it just comes with age, but I guess it does.
To a degree, of course, the experiences that we build up, we kind of gather them and it becomes like a full bush, Sometimes you have to pluck some of the leaves off, but, those fresh leaves that grow up kind of like integrate into the whole bush, You were telling me you were busy doing some writing at the moment, and from time to time you like to do some painting. You want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, yeah. I started writing back in, maybe 2012, short story, just for fun. Just for fun. And I still have a few that I haven't finished, and some things like during my travels and my moves and crazy stuff, I've lost some of the things and I got discouraged and I just stopped.
Right.
And so recently, in the last 3 months, I just started back. I'm in like I guess you would say my third chapter of a book that I started 5 years ago.
Okay, and what's the book about?
It's about a woman that's in advertising and she ends up going out on with one of her girlfriends for a night out on the town, and she gets dragged into an alley and has to fight for her life. And she ends up starting to do her own investigation and trying to catch the perpetrator. And so it's one of those, yeah.
Okay, a real thriller.
Yeah,
All right.
one of those.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing a draft, or when you get it ready. Who knows? Maybe on one of the next television series or something.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you can. Yeah, you can go on Facebook and catch the first part of the draft,
okay.
I think. It's under it's under Yasin Mervicure.
I'll post that link as well on the in our information on the page. Mm-hmm. Outside of your book and the painting, are you drawing or basically painting?
I'm painting right now, as well as I'm doing some jewelry. I'm doing some beaded jewelry and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And doing a little sewing.
So
I love thrift stores. And so my thing is I like to go in there and find something to reinvent.
All right, Denise, the reinventor. All right, that's great. That's listen, I've got one more question for you, before we go, and that's our theme, which is called awareness. And I would like to know, what does awareness mean for you?
Awareness means to me is knowing myself, who I am, and what I want to be, I want my legacy to be, and the direction in where I want to go, because it's taken me a long time to find out who I really am and what I really want. So a lot of people, we grow up, we do this, we do that, things that we're supposed to do, like go to school, get a job, raise our children, buy a car, buy a home. But it's not, a lot of us, we don't do that. We're not able to do it, or we don't want to do it, or we don't know how to do it. And, and through all my trials and tribulations and my ups, my downs, and I have to stop and think, where did I go wrong with my life? Right. Because I've been through a lot. I've been through depression, drugs, broken relationships, which just about destroyed me. I mean, mentally and physically. And I had to overcome all of that. I had to plant my feet down, not just like in one spot, but plant my feet down on the ground and just see, I'm still standing. And refocus, right? I'm still standing after all of the things I've been through and all the things I've done and all the things I've seen. I'm still standing here. And it's got to be for a reason. Everyone has a story. Everyone has feelings. Everyone craves to have love, share love. They want to be here. They want to be known. They want their presence to be known. And I've seen so many people. I cannot tell you how many people I've seen on the street who don't have anyone.
Absolutely.
Not a kind word to say, hello, how are you doing? We see homeless people. Why do we see so many homeless people sleeping on the streets in America? And not just even in America, but other countries. I mean, I look, we can turn on our television every day and you see a program and you see, I love dogs. I love animals.
Sure.
Okay. But when you turn on the television now, you see homeless dogs before you see homeless people, and they want to show us people in Africa or other countries, other third world countries that are suffering and want you to send money to them, but we can't even take care of our own, We can't, and I don't mean just our own in our own country. I mean our own in our own neighborhoods, our own community. Where are they, people, to help those people? What are we going to do about this? Because it's just too much. We're suffering. People, how can you walk past a person that that's hungry?
Right.
You look at them and you assume that they're on drugs or they're crazy or whatever. They could have been on Wall Street last week. You never know.
Right. You're absolutely right about that. There's a lot of fear projected towards people in general. And I think it has a lot to do with the way our society has developed over the years. The old expression of it takes a village to raise a child is sort of kind of disappeared in modern day society. That's unfortunate, and that it's going that way. But I do believe that people like you and other people that are out there and realize what's going on, and of course, I think it has a lot to do maybe with our generation as well. We've experienced so much over the years, and the compassion that we know, a lot of young folks don't get to know because they're closed up into their own worlds, locked in on their smartphones or their tablets, and it's about sort of become a me society, and that needs to change, in my personal opinion. People need to try to get more, get together. Communication is so important. And being aware, which is what this show is about today, being aware about what's going on in your direct neighborhood. And I think when people start doing that a little bit more, a lot of problems can be solved within a community,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I feel that. I can remember. I feel that that's important, but I can remember growing up in Indiana. They had the games.
We know about that, yeah.
And I remember that I might have been maybe in the 5th or 6th grade, or maybe younger. And my father and I and my mother were riding down 15th Avenue.
Right.
By Charleston School. And they had a fight, a gang fight. I had never seen anything like this before. And it was just like something out of West Side Story where the guys were on the street fighting and bottles and they were just falling out. Mm-hmm. But there were no gunshots, But when I saw that, it was frightening to see young men fighting like that, and it terrified me, and I was afraid. I was like, what's going on here? It was, it's a gang. What is a gang?
Right.
I didn't know what a gang was. Of course, we were in school. We knew they had this gang, that gang. But by that time, we were in high school. When we found out about what it really was to be in a gang. And I think that young people today, they have no direction. I think that there were so many children having children and no one to teach them. Like you said, it takes a village to raise a child. When I was growing up my grandparents lived on 11th Avenue. Even in our neighborhood where we grew up, Eddie, you can do something and your neighbors see it, they're going to get you. They're going to, and your parents
absolutely
know before you get home. So you not only got it from your neighbor,
absolutely,
you got it from your neighbor's neighbor until you got home. It was like beating up. It was like beating up the drums. They knew it before you even got there.
Before you got there, that's right.
Before you got there, and there was no such thing as disrespect to an adult.
No,
you do not.
And that has changed. That has changed tremendously over the years. That there's the lack of respect towards the elders, unfortunately, and hopefully. I kick back on the pandemic from time to time, but I kind of hope that this pandemic has, in many ways, changed the viewpoint of a lot of youngsters. I hope so. At the moment, I'm seeing it to a certain degree, at least here in Europe, that a lot of kids are slowly changing their attitudes. But there needs to be some major change because, like I said, Mother Nature is pissed off at the world because there's fires in one place, there's floods there, and it's a sign of the times, of course. And we need to pull together as a multiple society to try and, find a solution. I always say, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
That's right. You're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And I wonder, I'm like, okay, so what's going to be my next step here? Because I went out today and I went into the service station and came out, and it was a young man. He had to be maybe about 16 or 17, and he held the door for me.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I've been seeing a lot of that lately, and I'm like, well, these people, I'm looking around. I'm wondering if the watchers are here. Did they come down and get us? What are they doing? But you know, yeah, it's a new generation. I think, like you said, I think they're starting to pay attention to things and starting to realize their life is short. I really believe that this time that we have spent being locked down are bringing families closer together, because there's a lot of parents now that are stuck at home with their children, and they're forced to discipline them. They're forced to help them with their homework. They're forced to make sure they eat right. They're forced to make sure they clean their rooms, because they're all at home now. Illness and death upon us. But it's a good thing to be with your family, because it brings your family closer. I mean, even though I came here in February, and I quarantined in my room here for 14 days, right? And the relationship between my daughter and I is better. She's learning more about me as an adult. I'm learning a whole lot about her as an adult. And then I find out, she picked up all of my bad habits. She's like me when I was like in my 30s, and I'm just, I know everything. I'm the boss, And then I mellowed down. Now she's pretty mellow.
Oh, well,
but she's bossy, okay? I live with my boss now.
Listen, Denise, it's always a pleasure to talk with you, and we will definitely keep in touch more often. I want to wish you a lot of success with the thriller that you're writing, and hopefully around that time we'll be able to plug it on the show at a certain point and have you back on the show again sometime when it's all ready. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah. That would be great. And, during that time, I don't know, you might have to do some editing for me. on those days when you just can't figure out anything else.
No problem. Sit in my way. I'll take a look.
I know you have a lot to do, but thank you for this little interview, bringing me. You pushing me out of my comfort zone, and at least I know I probably talked crazy and but you probably won't even post this.
Oh well, no problem. Always a pleasure.
I will definitely keep on keeping on, and I wish you the same, Eddie, and you stay safe there. Okay.
We will definitely, like I said, we'll definitely keep in touch. It's wonderful to see and talk with you again. And I want to wish you a lot of success, a lot of love, and a lot of good health. And, keep making those positive things happen over there.
All right.
I will. All righty.
All right.
You take care of yourself.
You too, sweetie. Bye-bye.
This is My Positive Podcast with Eddie C. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my last guest for the day is, we go also way back. Actually, one of the first bands I worked with when I started becoming a musician just as a teenager. We were playing together, and I remember I was telling him the other day when I spoke to him on the phone that, his dad would take us to the gigs and pick us up, and we would afterwards would be playing our first performances in a Roberts Motel. And he's a fantastic guitar player, very talented songwriter, and has been around for years doing his thing. And recently he did a job working with the Temptations and some other artists he's been working with over in the States. Please give a warm welcome to my final guest for this particular episode, Mr. Willie Junei Lee Jr. Hey, buddy, how you doing, man?
Hey, my brother, my real brother. Man, life is good, man. Life is good, man.
All right.
Enjoying it. How about you? How you doing, my
friend? I'm doing fantastic, man. It's really great to have you on the show. It was kind of spontaneous and sort of last minute, but sometimes those are the best moments that happen, when it's something that's spontaneous like that,
That is correct, man. That's correct. You caught me off guard, man, but it's such a joy, man, to see you, brother.
The same here. Same here. And it's nice to, after so many years, it's just like we pick up from when we were teenagers, man.
Oh my goodness, man. That's Wow, I was just thinking about it last night. I was riding in my vehicle and I was on the highway thinking about the years that I went by, and I said, oh my God, man, it's like over 40 years, man. You know?
That's right. It's all and we both still had hair.
You know, I hear you, man, because I know one night I was at a concert with the Temptations, man, and one of the leaders of the group was walking out of the auditorium, you know, during the sound check, and he looked back like he was like maybe 200 feet from the stage, right? He was studying, and he looked around, he says, Junei. I said, what? He said, your head is shining, man. I'm like, what? You know, it took me a second to catch it, man. I'm like, wow. It's just like somebody would ask me today, they says, man, brother, you know, I remember you back in, why you cut your hair off? I said, man, it don't grow anymore, man.
Exactly.
So you have to learn to live with certain things, man.
That's right.
What can I say, man?
Ain't nothing wrong with that, buddy. Ain't nothing wrong with that. The heart and the spirit, as long as the heart and the spirit is good, that's what counts, man.
Oh, my goodness, man. Life is a humbling experience. I have to say that.
All right.
It's very humbling.
All right. Well, listen, why don't you tell my listeners a little bit more about yourself and, you know, how you actually got to where you are now?
Okay. Wow. Where do I start? Well, of course, okay, there was a beginning, of course. At the age of 5, I began playing piano. And by the age of 11, I had started teaching myself guitar, you know, because I just, you know, I love music, man. You know, I've loved it all my life. Music was in my family. My mom was a pianist in a church, you know.
Right.
My dad, he wasn't much of a musical guy, even though he could whistle real well. But
and your brother was also a musician, huh?
Oh, yeah. My brother, he was my mentor from the very beginning, taught me the basics of music, which helped me, you know, catapult into where I am now. At one time, when I was about, 13 years old, 12 years old, I had became the first guitarist in the city of Gary to actually be inducted in the school curriculum. But I didn't even know that history was being made, because when I approached the band, I says, hey, I want to be in the band. It says, okay, we have a tuba, we got the bells, you know. And I'm like, hold up. Oh, we got the timpani too. I says, no, man, I want to play the guitar. And they laughed at me, man. And remember, we're talking like 1967, man, you know. And there were no guitars in school bands, but I didn't know it. All I knew was I wanted to play. But the long story short, they, after about 2 or 3 weeks of just literally just hounding the band instructor at Beckman Junior High in Gary, Indiana, they said, okay, all right, we will get rid of this guy once and for all. If we got a production of Hair, you know, Jesus Christ Superstar coming up. If you can read this music, we'll give you a shot. But I couldn't read music, man. You know, I could play anything I could hear from the radio, of course.
Exactly. Yeah, we're playing by ear.
You know, so I ran home from school that lunch hour, and my brother had just graduated high school. He was in the bed asleep. I pushed him and woke him up. Hey, Bob, wake up. You got to teach me how to read music, man. He looked at me like, okay, do I choke you now, or can I like choke you when I wake up, you know? So he finally, all groggy, woke up and he started drilling me on a few basic things. And long story short, I ran back to school, auditioned, and got the part. And from that point, I ended up in the stage band, the jazz band, the orchestra, you know, et cetera, you know, getting certificates and awards. But I wasn't even focusing on that. I was just focusing on the fact that, hey, man, I'm playing, man. This is really cool, you know. So that actually ended up, in my senior year, I got my first course of theory and harmony, actually, which just literally just transported me into a whole new dimension that I didn't even know existed, you know, at Gary Westside High, right?
Exactly. And because I started playing in the big band with, you know, because they never had a percussion player.
Wow. See, I never knew that.
Yeah,
man.
and I was first one to play percussion in the school band there, because it was all, you know.
Hey, they had the right guy. They had the right guy, man. Because you are like my man on Star Trek. You are number one, brother. Yes, you are, man. I say that with pride, man. You know, I'm not a prideful guy, but hey, man, this is an exception. Because you are that guy.
No.
Yes, you are.
Oh,
you
thank
know.
you, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, but
So you did that, and of course your brother had a group. You all had a group, the Lost Weekend.
oh yeah. It's funny you would mention that, man, because actually the Lost Weekend was a group that was actually started by me, but a lot of people never knew that.
Okay.
Because what happened was in junior high, I had what they used to call them power trios, but it was myself, a bass player, a drummer. We were all like in junior high school, and we would rehearse every day after school for about 5 or 6 hours, 7 days a week. Right. Even on the weekends we rehearsed, man,
Right.
And my brother caught wind of us, man, and he was like, wow, he literally just kind of excused, I don't want to say fired, okay? He excused his guitarist, his drummer, and his bass player. And next thing you know, we fused together. And he came up to me and says, Junei, what do you think, man? A name, man. I says, I don't know. He says, and out of the clear blue sky, I don't know where he got it from. He said, what about name the group The Lost Weekend? And I looked at him and I looked at him. I was like, all right, whatever, man, because we were kids, man,
right.
Bubble gum, Paul, I know, And next thing you know, man, we built the group off of my band, but by my brother having the business expertise and the knowledge of the music industry, he was like hands down elected as the hey, you're the
band leader, right?
You're that guy, band leader. Right. You make the decisions, and we'll just follow suit. And that's how the Lost Weekend came about.
All right, because you guys were a very popular group in the Gary area, and because people, we all know about the Jackson 5, and and Denise Williams, and
right.
But there were a lot of very good bands happening at that time in Gary, and of course, there was a lot of talent going on there, and you guys were very popular, man. I remember, seeing you all play, and then eventually we got together and started playing, man.
Actually, with the Lost Weekend, it was like, how could I put it? I had, I was like, man, I was just into it just all the way in. I was like, man, head on into the music, man. And when I finally came up out of the basement, I realized, man, there's like, how many bands are there really? Man, there were like a band on every block in Gary, Indiana.
Absolutely.
And the bands were good too, man. There were some good bands,
There were some very good bands, right?
And I had set out a journey to meet all of these people, man. I just wanted to play with everybody, man.
Right.
And it was a great experience. And when I finally met you and the drummer we had, Butch, and the other guys, oh man, I was on the cloud, man. I was on the cloud, brother.
Oh man, we had that was a nice band, man. That was it's like talking to you on the telephone the other day, just yesterday, in fact. It was like going back all those years when we were reminiscing about the times we played together, man. The Roberts Motel, where Zavanu and Cannonball Adderley played at. We were on this. We did that stage as well.
Everybody who was somebody. Matter of fact, one night we were doing Roberts Motel, okay, and people would come in and out, and Roberts was owned by a guy in Chicago by the name of Herman Roberts, who had another Roberts in Chicago, right? Which I guess was the mothership, so to speak, And we were downstairs we were setting up or halftime or something, and in walks these guys, speaking of people who would come and go out of Roberts Motel.
Right.
And these guys walked in. One guy walked in, heavyset guy holding a big conga drum under his arm, and another guy walked in. They just looked like they came off the basketball court or something, right? The bass player had his bass guitar up on his shoulder, just walking. They were walking to the bar, downstairs.
Right. I remember. Yeah.
And it was about 5 or 6 guys, man. The guitar player, he didn't even have a guitar in his case. He's just walking with it. This is holding it like, like Peanuts Gang or something.
Yeah,
man,
right.
And then after we talked for a few minutes. They were really cool, like conversing like we're conversing. And they says, okay, man, we got to go upstairs and hit, man. And they introduced themselves and they said, "Oh man, come on upstairs, man. The name of the group is called War." I'm like, "War? Hold up, man!" And this was when they were coming out with the song "Slipping in the Darkness."
That's
man.
right. Papa D'Allen was playing the congas back in the day.
I had no idea, man. They were just normal cats, man. You know what I'm saying? We were all this one big community. You, me, War, and everybody else who came through. Right. Nancy Wilson and what's the guy's name? Jerry Butler. All those people were coming going. And we had no idea. We were kids, man.
We were kids. That's right. We were kids. We were
surrounded by greatness, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But the one good thing I really admire is that it never went to our heads, man.
No. No. That's right. That's right.
We remained humble who we were, and we enjoyed ourselves, man. It was just, in one word, it was just joy, man.
It was a lot of joy and a lot of fun because I remember after the gigs were over, because we were, like we said, we were just teenagers, but we'd finish the gig and, put the stuff back in your father's truck. And then we go to the big wheel, which was like close by. Man.
Big wheel.
And that was the meeting place. That was a spot to go to eat afterwards. And we'd be like, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning?
2 o'clock, 2:30. Sometimes we get home, it would be daylight, man.
That's right.
And some days we had to go to school, man. Remember?
That's right. We had to go to school. But having some of us were having breakfast because it would be like pancakes or waffles, and the other one, and your father always had to have a steak.
He was a steak master. He was definitely a steak master. It's a filet mignon. I couldn't even pronounce what he was saying, man. But he knew. He was the steak guy. It was either Big Wheel or Ponderosa or this other spot. I can't think of the name of it now, but it was in Miller. But anyway,
we had, but those were wonderful times. It's. I always try to tell some of the younger cats younger musicians I meet, how an influential time that was for us as growing up. Because there were no drum computers. It was about your heart and your skill for your instrument and the love for the music.
Oh my goodness! No quantified. You couldn't even quantifize.
There was no.
You got to hit it, man. If you make a mistake halfway through a song, you got to start over again.
That's right. You had to do it right, man. And
no samples, no nothing. Everything was. If you wanted a flute, or if you wanted a percussionist or a guitarist or some strings, you got to go get the players, man.
That's right.
Actual players.
Had to have the players. And I remember the clubs because, I always had this sort of baby faces, because you guys used to always tease me. And I remember back in the day, I had you had to remember with the Sly and the Family Stone were popular, so they had the granny caps, the weave caps. Yeah. So I had the weave cap, and I remember
that, man.
I remember even taking one of my mother's eyebrow pencils just to give myself a little bit of a mustache to make me look older.
I saw it a lot. I remember one guy, man. I remember this one musician. I can't think of his name. The guy, I guess he decided he was gonna basically make his beard, and it was like on his face for about 3 or 4 months because he couldn't get it off, man. It was funny. Everybody wanted to be,
we wanted to be, because it was actually a club for adults, basically. But we were playing, and we were the young cats. We went in there, we played, and people wanted us. It was.
And we were fortunate, man.
Very fortunate.
We were fortunate, man, and I was fortunate to be able to touch shoulders, man, with musicians as great as people as yourself, And when I look back on it now, and I actually compare today, man, oh my goodness, brother, you were that guy. I was so blessed for God to have brought us in the same path, man. Because actually, even being a guitarist, it made me even better.
Hey, man, you were considered the cat when it came to guitar over there, man, in Gary.
Well, I hear people saying that, but it never dawned on me, man. It never dawned on me. I was just so busy just enjoying the ride, man, being out in the yard, jamming under the tree outside and all that kind of stuff, man. We were having such a wonderful time.
We had great times. Well, moving on to that, years later, I left in 1975 to come live in Europe. And you continued in Gary, but you've worked with some well-known artists, in the Midwest area, and of course you worked with the Temptations. Can you tell us a little bit about that period?
Yeah.
Because
well, you know what? Let me go back a little bit back so it'll make sense to me. Mm-hmm. Now, even during the Lost Weekend days, periodically we would do shows like in the Chicagoland area, because being from Gary, I hadn't been anywhere, man. Chicago was like, wow, like Emerald City, man, the Wizard of Oz to me, man.
That's right.
And when we would do shows in Chicago, like at the McCormick Place or places like that, I would run into musicians, man. Like I remember the very first job I ever did that I consider would be professional was when I opened up for Ramsey Lewis. Now, I didn't know who Ramsey Lewis was, man. I know who he is now. Of course. Right. But I was like, I was 15 years old, man. And I tell you who his drummer was at the time. He was the leader of Earth, Wind & Fire.
Yeah, Maurice White. I know that. Yeah. Right.
And I remember that was the night that he told Ramsey he was leaving the group, man. And from what I remember, I don't really want to put the guy's business out there, but I don't think Ramsey believed him. Okay. And you'll be back in a couple of weeks. Okay. Yeah. You'll be back,
Yeah.
And next thing you know, this guy, they became the number one group in the world, man. I'm like, but at that time, again, I was only 15. I didn't know what was going on, man. I didn't even know musicians got paid, okay? And after that show, what happened? The guy walked up to me and says, "Here you go, guy." And he gave me, I'll never forget, he gave me like $96, man, and I'm like, "What is this, man? What is this for? I'm not selling my guitar, man. What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
He says, "No, man, this is for your performance." I said, "Performance? I don't want no money. I just want to play, man." And they all laughed at me.
Yeah.
What they didn't know was I was serious. I didn't care about no money, man. We left there and went straight to Robert's Motel, and that's how that gig started.
Right.
The same night, right? Now, after the Lost Weekend, let me see, because the Lost Weekend recorded its hit single, "The Bridge of Love," in 1971, March the 3rd, and actually appeared live on Soul Train. That was aired in Chicago, right?
That's right.
And after that, I started becoming, I started getting noticed by other people, like in the Chicagoland area, which brought me to be able to perform with groups like The Emotions. I worked with Pop Staples from the Staple Singers, Mary Wells. That was with, I think she was in Motown at the time, Beat You to the Punch, my guy,
right, exactly.
Then, let me see, who else did I work with? Then following that, I went out on the road with Albert King, BB, and Muddy Waters for a small stint. And after that, I ended up with, matter of fact, I did a little thing with the Beach Boys for a minute. Real quick, it was one night though, but it was cool.
All right, hey man, there's nothing wrong with that.
Hey, this guy with the square guitar, Bo Diddley, that was comical to me, man, but it was fun,
Right.
And from there, I managed to land a job with Curtis Mayfield's Impressions.
And that was always one of my, that was like on my wish list to be able to work with Curtis Mayfield, because he had been working with Henry Gibson, was his percussion player, who was one of my idols back in the day.
And I remember you brought that name to me because I didn't know who the guy was.
Yeah,
but I was listening. I remember, Yeah. And after that tour was over, I ended up getting a job with the lead singers from the Temptations. It was Eddie Kendricks, David Ruffin, and Dennis Edwards, and we toured for a while. And it was like unbelievable because, man, I never thought in a million years, you know what I'm saying? These were my favorite groups through childhood, man,
Right.
and all of a sudden, bam, you know,
You're
it
working with
happened.
them. That's it.
And it was a beautiful experience. I have to admit, man, it was a learning experience. Of course, it came with its pros and cons, but it's all part of the journey,
It's
you know?
all part of the journey. That's right, man. That's right.
And, man, you remain humble and, and teachable, and you just take it from day to day, man. And all I can say is that, hey, I loved it, man. I love what I do, and I continue to play. So
that's fantastic. Well, we're getting near the end of the interview, but the main theme is for this particular show is awareness.
Right.
And so I would like to know what does not only what it doesn't mean to you, but for you,
Well, you know what? As the years went by, like I said, I try to fashion myself as a humble person, and I become more focused on life and, basically more, sensitive to the things around me on a universal level, And I find that it's very important to give back, and to acknowledge, everything, in life, like they say, life is what you make it. But hey, positivity in, positivity out,
That's right.
And like I said, I'm a very universal person. I love everybody. I love everything. I love life, and that's just who I am. Positivity, that's in one word, positive, and basically I'm happy with who I've become, and I strive every single day to be a better person. And I try to help as much as I can. It's not a day that goes by that I don't try to extend the happiness and joy to somebody, even if it's just a positive word, or it's, that's just something I am, man. Man, it's just, I can just go on and on about this, man. I mean, I don't even know where to start, man, because it's an emotional thing for me, man, because life is a beautiful thing, and spreading and creating beauty that's who I am, man,
Oh, that's how I've always known you as well. I mean, from off the time we were, teenagers, playing, and
and I realized how much of a blessing to be chosen to be a musician, a messenger, so, hey, man.
Well, let me before we go, what would be your advice to young folks out there today, let's say pursuing a musical career in these days and times, and what we've gone through with the whole COVID thing? I'm very curious to hear your answer around that.
Okay, well, on a comical level, I'm gonna tell you what my father would have said. Because my daddy said to me one day, he says, "Junior," I said, "Yeah, Dad. You want to learn something?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, shut up." You know my dad, man.
I know your father. Yeah.
And it resonated through the years because I'm like, what was that about? But my advice to young people, man, would, to get as much education as you can. And number one, be humble. Don't be afraid to ask questions. To me, there's no such a thing as a dumb question.
Exactly.
And pay attention. And a lot of times you have to listen and observe, monitor. Man, it's just so many things, man, that I have for young people, man, because they are the future. And it's so important, man, to just to be respectable. My Lord, man, it's just, and on a spiritual level, man, find out who you are, man, because, you're larger than you could ever imagine, oh my Lord, oh man, wow. That's too is a very emotional question for me because, looking at where we were and where we are now,
right.
And we have so much to give back to these young people.
Exactly.
All they have to do is just listen and just humble themselves, just be still, and it'll work, and the main thing, don't ever give up. Don't give up.
That's
because
it.
Something that my father also told me, man, that I always remember, he says, "Junior, don't you ever give up because the darkest part of night is right before the break of dawn." And it took me a while to understand what he was trying to say.
Right.
You know, because at that last second, man, you never know what's around that corner, you know, but just keep the course and stay on the road. You'll get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for a lot of people that want to pursue those dreams, you know, it doesn't come overnight. You know, it's right when you think it's not going to happen, it's right there.
Right. You just keep at it. You just keep pushing at it. Keep plugging at it. You know, because even when I teach guitar to a new student, they get frustrated. And I say, and I don't say a whole lot. I kind of smile a little bit and I keep on and I show them this and I say, okay, let's take a break. And they'll come back a few minutes later and that what they were struggling with becomes a little easier. And I smile a little bit more. And as the days go by, they be said, well, you know, I was trying this. I said, well, let's go back to what we were doing last week. And it says, well, I can't seem to get it. I said, really? Well, you just did it, you know? Right. It was so caught up in trying so hard that they don't realize that every little bit helps. Right. But you just have to keep at it, you know?
Well, I always say the best awareness is the awareness that's inside yourself.
Yeah, that inner beauty, man. That's that inner beauty, man. That spirit, man. You know, because I remember a lot of days when I wanted to do the Jimi Hendrix and crash my guitar against the wall. But, you know, but I stayed on it, man. I stay on it, you know, and every time I went back, it got easier and easier. But you just got to stay the course. Don't give up, you know, don't give up, you know, because which reminds me, I was sitting at the house one day and I was writing a song. I was composing some music. And after I got the track done, I says, okay, this is going to be a vocal track. And all of a sudden, I would say the spirit took over because I was going to say something took over. I sat there and I picked up my pen and started writing to the music and came up with a song that was totally opposite of what I was trying to create, right? And the song ended up being a song titled Don't Give Up, you know? And that's a song that I kind of push at a lot of people sometimes. And matter of fact, I get emails from all over the world. Hey, man, I heard your song, Don't Give Up on. Oh, man, that's my go-to song now, brother, and blah, blah, blah. That's some good stuff. And it makes me happy because on a spiritual level, it was a song meant to give people encouragement, which incidentally is a song that I wanted to dedicate to our hometown of Gary, Indiana. You know, no matter what it is you're doing, don't give up because you got all the tools. You just have to go inside of yourself, you know? Yeah, man. So that's my advice. Don't give up, you know? So,
all right, man. Well, man, on those words, man, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing some, you know, some memory moments with me and, you know, and also sharing it with my public, the wonderful awareness that you've gone through in your lifetime, sharing your music and great to see that you're still busy with it, brother.
Well, hey, man, it's great to be seen. You know, somebody told me yesterday. And, it's, you know, and I'm going to continue to do what I do because basically, man, you know, it's not a day that goes by that I don't create something and write something or just do what I do. No, should I say do what we do?
Yeah, that's it, man.
And hey, you know, I plan on releasing some more music within the next 30 days, you know. And I'm just happy to say that, hey, man, I'm just blessed to be here, man, and blessed to continue to do what I do, you know, because it is truly a blessing, man.
Oh, fantastic.
Hey, and I give it all to the Creator, man. You know, I give him all the praise, you know.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, look, I'm looking forward to hearing that new music, and I know we're going to be doing some collaborating in the future as well. So
yes,
we're going to making that reconnection that we did. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So you take good care of yourself, brother. Keep spreading that love and joy out there that you've been doing all these years, and that great music that you're making, my friend. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, man, and it's always a pleasure to have your presence in whether it's in the music or having a conversation.
Hey, I appreciate you just equally as much. You know, this energy, man. Man, it's like back in the day, man. I can't wait to basically grace your presence, man, with some more music, man, so we can get together and do what we do, man. You know,
I'm looking forward to it very much.
Oh, and incidentally, man, I love the videos, man, that you sent me, man.
All right.
Blew me up, woke me up, man. I don't even need coffee today, man. Man, I was in the back, like I was in the audience. Go ahead and go, man, go. Man, I loved it, man. I loved it, man. It brought back some great memories, man. You have not missed a beat, man. I mean, you're like on point, man. You know,
thank you.
I enjoyed that, man. I truly did, man.
Thank you very much, buddy.
And I thank you, man, for bringing me on your show. You know, it's highly appreciated.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon, man.
All right, my brother.
All right. Bye-bye. This is MPP, and I'm Eddie C. Well, my friends, this was quite a show for me. It was fantastic to reminisce together with Willie and talk with Denise about things that she's done. And, of course, with Marieke, who I didn't know that long, but I'm going to be working with in the future on a project. They all had something, I think, which was very much intact with awareness. And on those notes, here's my quote. Awareness. Touching base with your inner self. Discovering the little things around your surroundings that are part of what influences your behavior and development. Reaching out to others young and old to help them become more aware of themselves and showing compassion to those in real need. Sharing your given talents in what form they may be, whether it's music, painting, or just lending an ear to listen to others. The process of growing, learning, and knowing the power of awareness of showing love. Well, that's it for this show. But before I go, I'd like to thank Miss Marieke Jansen, Miss Denise Crockett, and Mr. Willie Junei Lee Jr. for coming on and sharing their stories with us about awareness. And remember, the best awareness is the awareness within yourself. Until next time, you can find me on all platforms like Spotify, Android, and Apple. On Facebook, look for My Positive Podcast, and my website is mypositivepodcast.com. You can also contact me via my website or Facebook. A very special thanks to my technical producer, Iswan. This show is a production by Antwerp Podcast Service. My name is Eddie C., and this was MPP, My Positive Podcast. Tune in next week and stay positive.